Hi, I'm George Peroulas on location at Central Piedmont Community College discussing the film industry with film pros who've come from around the country. Find out the future of North Carolina's entertainment industry. It all starts now on Below the Line on location.
It's Below the Line with George Peroulas. On tonight's show,
Welcome to Below the Line. We're on location at Central Piedmont Community College Halton Theater for Digital Film People. This 8th annual event brings film professionals together from around the country. Back again with us is the very busy Bert Hesse. You were with us again last year at this event, and you were telling us about your project studio, Charlotte. It's been quite a year for you. A lot has happened, hasn't it?
It has. A lot has happened and a lot has not happened. What has happened is we've been developing relationships with some of the major studios on the West Coast that are excited about having a production facility in the Charlotte area. What has not happened is the state of North Carolina definitively making a decision on do they want the film industry in North Carolina or not. And that will be determined by the film tax credits and the incentives.
Now, most recently, at the end of March, the City of Charlotte's Economic Development Committee voted unanimously not to give your group the 5-month extension you need as you wait on legislation from Raleigh on the film tax incentives. So, is there still a possibility of having your project on the Eastland property?
There's still a possibility. From a percentage standpoint, I don't know what it would be, but at some point you have to realize you can't keep convincing the woman to marry you. At some point you say it's just not there and have to move on. I don't know if we're at that point yet, but we're getting really close to it.
Now, last year when we spoke, you told me that the East Charlotte property was one of many Mecklenburg County locations you were looking at. Are the other areas still available now?
They're still available, and what is interesting, after the county or the city council made their decision not to extend our MOU period, we got calls from every surrounding county of Mecklenburg asking us to meet with them, and so we're meeting with them now.
Tell us again about your project and what it will include.
What our goal is to build one of the largest studio complexes outside of Los Angeles, over 300,000 square feet of sound stages, with an educational complex, with retail, mixed-use housing, a real destination that will have over 400 students a day on the property, over 2,000 people working in the sound stages a day. So it's a huge economic incentive for any county to get. It's like winning the lottery because property values increase, your tax base increase, your unemployment goes down. It is really a windfall.
In July 2013, neighboring states Tennessee and South Carolina increased their film incentives. I'm sure those states would love to have a major studio in their state.
Well, we have been contacted by the state of South Carolina to consider moving our project down into their state, and we're talking to them also. There's a lot of things that have to be in place for a studio this size to be built and be successful. So while it is the incentive package is a key ingredient, it's not 100%. Just throwing money at Hollywood and the film industry is not going to create an industry in your state. You have to have a crew base already there. If you don't have a crew base existing, then the production company comes in and they have to house all their production staff, so they lose all the money that they are saving from the rebate. So you have to have infrastructure with a crew base. You have to have access to transportation, meaning in and out of that area. International transportation, meaning you need to have access to an airport that has international flights. So if you're stuck off in the boonies somewhere, you don't have the crew base, you don't have access, even though you have the incentives, it's not going to work.
Film incentives and rebates are available in dozens and dozens of states. In Canada, across Europe, New Zealand, Australia, competition is fierce for these film dollars and these jobs. This is the way business is done now, worldwide. This isn't going away, is it?
It's not. Actually, it's growing. What's happening, it's the old 80-20 80-20 rule. You got 20% of the states creating 80% of the revenue of film, and you've got the remaining 80% of the states scrambling for the crumbs of the 20%. And some of that has to do with the actual location of the state. Some of it has to do with the topography of the state. If you're stuck in a western state where it's strictly, sagebrush and flat ground, you're locked into the types of films that can be filmed there. The one good thing about North Carolina, it has a wide variety of not only topography, but weather. Films are made in spring, summer, winter, and fall. North Carolina has those 4 seasons. Films are made in mountains. 2 hours out of Charlotte, you're in the mountains. Films are made on the beach. 3 hours, you're at the beach. Films are made in a cosmopolitan setting. You got downtown Charlotte. Films are made in rural 1940 towns. Half an hour out of downtown Charlotte, you've got Mayberry, basically. So North Carolina has all these things that attract the film industry. The one thing it doesn't have is purpose-built stages. It doesn't have the bricks and the mortar, and that's what we are proposing.
Your group out of California, Pacific Adventures, has successfully done this before. In 2011, they opened up a huge complex in Pennsylvania, but before that, they opened up another complex in 2007 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they've made movies, TV shows, other media projects. The creation of new businesses and jobs around the studio soon followed. Tell me about those jobs and the growth that came with that studio.
Albuquerque is a perfect example. They built outside of downtown Albuquerque, basically out in the middle of nowhere, but access to the Albuquerque airport and downtown Albuquerque. But there really wasn't anything there besides just the sound stages. Within 3 years, over 300 small businesses had located to be close to the studio property. Those businesses would have no interest in being at that location if it weren't for the sound stages. The same thing is happening in Philadelphia. It is a magnet for small businesses. The film industry is made up of small businesses. Most people think the film industry is the 7 major studios. It's not. It's the small businesses, the small boutique special effects companies, the small boutique editing companies and sound companies, the seamstress, people like that are all small businesses. That's what makes up the film industry, not the multi-billion-dollar conglomerates.
How much money, time, and planning has already been spent on this Studio Charlotte project?
We have spent almost $1 million so far in the last 2 years kicking the tires around the Eastland site. We knew we were going to have to spend that, and we were willing to spend that, and we were willing to spend more. I think to pull something of this size off, you need to have some big players. And when you look at who's on our board, who our strategic partners are, we have a $17 billion publicly traded company behind us. We have one of the largest soundstage management companies in Pacific Adventures. As I tell people, it's not a architectural marvel to build sound stages. I mean, they're basically big vacant buildings. The key is how do you fill them up with work? And we feel there are really only 3 companies in the world that can fill them up on a constant basis because these 3 companies have the relationships with the studios. And we are one of those 3 companies, Pacific Adventures and Studio South.
Some media reports have tried to discount your project, but your group is serious about investing here. What do you tell the skeptics?
I say, look at who's behind this. Look at the board of advisors. Look at our strategic partners. As I said, we have a $17 billion company behind us. We've got a board of directors of industry experts and business experts. We have a business model that's working in Albuquerque and a business model that's working in Philadelphia. This is not a startup company. Our business partner, Pacific Adventures, at one point owned the oldest studio in California called Culver City Studios, where Gone with the Wind was made. We have a long storied history with Hollywood. These are industry experts who we know what we're doing, and what we're trying to do is enlighten and educate North Carolina on the potential economic impact that having a real film studio in the area can have on this economy, not just some sound stages that have been renovated through some old factories or some old textile mills. We are proposing to build one of the largest studio complexes outside of Los Angeles.
So what is the next step?
Is to wait to see what the vote in Raleigh is. That will determine everything.
Does the recent Charlotte mayor scandal affect your plans for building in Charlotte?
It does. It makes us less interested, knowing that anybody who deals now with the public entity is going to be more scrutinized than prior to what happened here with the mayor. And that just adds a whole nother layer and time of things being moved out. And after spending almost $1 million in 2 years, we're ready to go. I mean, it's like, come on, guys, let's get this thing going. But now what has happened, it's going to just put more scrutiny on anybody who does anything in Eastland or outside of this area. If they have to work through the city council or the mayor's office now, they're just going to be scrutinized so much, and it could just slow down the process, unfortunately.
And if Charlotte or North Carolina isn't the place where you set up shop, this is going to happen. What can you say that would be a more likely scenario?
It'd be right across the North Carolina border. It wouldn't be down into South Carolina in the Columbia area or necessarily the Greenville-Spartanburg area. It'd most likely be right across the border into South Carolina.
Bert Hesse, once again trying to get a studio in the area. We'll find out what happens. Bert, we continue to wish you all the best with your project, and we thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Below the Line continues right after this. Don't go away.
North Carolina's Film Incentive Program guarantees that 75% of every dollar the Hollywood studios spend in North Carolina stays here, enriching our state while using the studio's money to do it. Without these incentives, millions of dollars of studio money would go elsewhere. This economic stimulus would dry up and North Carolina's economy would not benefit by it.
You're watching Below the Line with George Peroulas on location at CPCC. Joining me now is Jeff Hoffman, film producer, business mogul, entrepreneur, public speaker. Thank you for being here in town today. We appreciate your time and your insight. You've been part of many startup companies, Priceline.com, Color Jar, CTI, Ubid.com. You're a film producer. You've promoted concerts around the country. You travel the world. You make things happen. But as you know, in entertainment, there's a lot of rejection and a lot of negativity. Actors not getting the roles, screenwriters not selling their script, producers not getting the money or the green light to make their movie. What does it take to keep going and stay positive in this industry?
You know, you hit on a really big point. The negativity is worse when you actually start to succeed. So not only a lot of times you not have people supporting you at the beginning and you deal with a lot of rejection, but interestingly, rejection is what happens early. Then when you have success, the negativity comes because people don't support you, they resent you because you succeeded at something that they didn't. So learning to deal with all that is an important part of being successful. Successful people are able to shake all that off and get up again tomorrow anyway, and you have to draw. The most important strength you draw has to come from within because you're dealing with rejection and you're dealing with people who don't believe you or don't see your vision. So being able to pick yourself up every day and move on, being driven by passion, right? Having things that get you up every morning, having a purpose. For example, just a really quick story. I had a friend who grew up in a mobile home with holes in the side, rusted out where the snow came in the winter. Every night, and just his mom and his sister, no father, every night he would sit there and think, someday I'm going to be successful enough to buy my mother a house in Florida. So a person like that, no matter how bad the world beats you up, has a reason to get up every day. Right? Every day he said, I can't give up, I can't quit because I've got to achieve my mission. I've got to buy my mother a house. So finding something that drives you that's more than just a paycheck or money, something that pushes you past all the negative people is really important key to success.
How important is surrounding yourself with good people who will help you succeed?
So I think when people ask me, people said, well, you've been successful in more than one business. I can tell you the number one reason is because I always had the best people. When I started out as a CEO, and if you're a leader, creator, whatever, I thought by default, I'm supposed to run the company, I'm the boss. Here's what I learned. It's an inverted pyramid. The best leaders are ones that serve everybody else by saying, my job is not to run the company. My job is to find people smarter than me in every area and then just get out of the way. take care of those people. I actually wrote a column for Inc. magazine. I used to write their entrepreneurship column, and the title on good leadership was Hire the Best People and Then Go Pick Up Their Dry Cleaning. And it came from a story where, even though I was the CEO and owner of the company, I went out at lunch and picked up dry cleaning for some of my technical employees because they were working on a product that customers were waiting for, and that's far more important than anything the CEO was doing. So finding talent, surrounding yourself with people smarter than you, and being on the best team is everything. You can't do it yourself anyway.
And how is that incorporated for people in the film industry?
So here's a lesson that I learned in the film industry as well. Obviously, you need good product, which means you have to have talented people. But the piece that was missing was the film industry. People go and they get trained on how to make a film. The problem is that's only one piece of the process, right? Financing a film, they're not trained in. Selling, distributing, marketing, doing contracts and distribution deals. And by the same token that I can't act and I would never operate a camera, those people, a lot of my artist friends, shouldn't be trying to do a short-form contract for a global distribution deal defining revenue corridors. So finding people that are good at everything it takes for you to succeed in the entertainment and the film business is a really important step that they typically don't tell you in film school.
What advice do you have to new filmmakers, independent filmmakers, about how to make all these things happen and get their product out there?
So it's a couple of things. One of them is, which is what we were here in Charlotte to talk about tonight to a lot of filmmakers, and afterwards we did, is to realize you can't just shoot a movie, you have to launch a business, right? Your film is a startup, not unlike when I launch an internet company or something. And what I mean by that is when we launch a startup, we not only define our product, we figure out who our market is, who we're selling it to, who's likely to sell us and distribute, how we're going to advertise it and promote it. People that think about all that stuff for a film as part of the film process, what I tell them is don't just mail somebody a script, write a business plan. I don't just want to know what the movie's about. I want to know how you're going to finance it, market it, distribute it, sell it, and promote it. So writing a business plan and thinking through all those things from the start is a talent that filmmakers need to develop. They need to realize they're entrepreneurs launching startups, not just artists making movies.
And speaking of movies, you have experience producing movies, of course. Your first film was a huge success. You made in North Carolina, Cabin Fever. Do you have any other plans of putting movies in Charlotte or North Carolina anytime soon? And what are those? Because I have to ask.
Okay, we absolutely do. Now, I don't know which pictures yet because we're still doing a lot of pre-production on some films, but obviously, the reason that I joined the board of Studio Charlotte is that we believe North Carolina is a fantastic place for filmmaking. We are hoping that that the legislative decisions on the film incentives go all the right way. That's obviously significant to filmmakers. But yes, we plan to make more films here, and we plan to build the studio so other people make more films here.
As a board member of the Studio Charlotte project, things have changed a lot over the past few months as regards to what will happen with the possible Eastland Mall property. What is it that your board of advisors, what do you guys do when you get together and figure out the next step? What's going on?
So we talk about sort of all the pieces of the business puzzle, right? Obviously, we need the right land, the right deal, the right incentives. We talk about not just films we're going to produce, but who are the other production companies around the world that we could bring here and how do we incent them to do that? So it's really, every time we gather with Bert, it's a review of the whole top-down business plan, the way you'd launch any other business, but we're excited about it.
So the big question is, you're a founder of Priceline.com, so of course all the viewers want to know, what is William Shatner really like?
I love William Shatner. His dry sense of humor, made working with him just an absolute delight. And he does this funny thing, which went all the way back to the Star Trek days. When he screws up a line, instead of saying cut and start over, he degenerates to try to see who's the last man standing. Sound people are laughing, camera people are laughing, other people on the set are laughing, to see who can keep the straight face longest, and it was absolutely hilarious. But he's a creative guy with a dry sense of humor that we just absolutely loved.
Jeff Hoffman, around the world making movies, creating businesses, and keeping you informed of the hot topics and trends of the day. Jeff, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Below the Line continues. Stay with us.
North Carolina's Film Incentive Program guarantees that 75% of every dollar the Hollywood studios spend in North Carolina stays here, enriching our state while using the studio's money to do it. Without these incentives, millions of dollars of studio money would go elsewhere. This economic stimulus would dry up and North Carolina's economy would not benefit by it.
We're at CPCC for the 8th annual Digital Film People event. Once again, George Cochran has put on another fabulous evening, and you continue to support film and filmmakers and to give back to students. Why is it that you do this year after year?
I don't want to go to hell. Is that a good answer? Actually, do you want the real answer? I do it because I have a responsibility to these young people. When I started, this is not going to be that lengthy, but when I started at a very young age, I think I was destined to install phones in New Jersey, and I had 5 people, my mentors, steered me towards this industry. Initially it was in print, and now, of course, many years later, as a director, producer in film. Why do I do this? Because I want to make sure that these children have an opportunity to succeed. And that's simple. There's nothing complicated about it. I was helped. I could have been literally installing phones in New Jersey. No offense to anyone. But I didn't. I ended up I had 73 freelance people in Manhattan, and 12 full-time employees. I shot commercials for every major city on just about every major account you could think of, from Mercedes-Benz to pancakes. I mean, it was just a great ride for many years. Many years, yeah. That's why I do it.
So you've loved the industry, and now you want to teach the next generation the passion and love that there is out in entertainment.
Yes, exactly. I think there's a mentor issue that people who have reached a certain point of their career, success, and have time to give back, they should give it back. They give back to these young people. Some of them are resistant because they think they know it all, but the industry really has not changed. Technology has changed, but the industry in itself, concept development, execution, quality, all of the issues of lighting, all of the issues of having an interesting, film, that's not changed. So what they need to understand is that they have it easier than original filmmakers that would shoot 35 millimeter double sprocketed MOS type film, run it through a moviola, and all those processes is gone. None of that's there anymore. Now they just push a button, they download it to their computer, and Final Cut Pro and a number of other wonderful software programs allow them to begin to edit. But what are they editing?
George, tell me the importance of relationships in this industry.
It's everything. What you need to do is to say to yourself, you're building a business. It's not a lifestyle, as I said on stage. It's a business. So that business needs to be very, very diverse in terms of the kind of people and the quality of people and the level of people that you know. If you know an elevator operator and you go there to have a location and this elevator operator is your friend, you get to have all your goods and services delivered up and down that building real quick. If you don't know him and you don't know her or whoever it is, things are going to get in your way. So production slows. So I make it a point, because it's my nature to be kind of a Labrador Retriever, is a very friendly guy where I can get things done quickly. So if I know the elevator operator building, and I also know the president of the company, and we might be at the country club together. It's really very, very important that networking. Now, most creative people are intimidated by networking. They're like, oh, dude, that guy wears a suit. And it's like, wrong, not going to happen. What you need to do is to say, I'm in a business, I'm not having a lifestyle, and if I treat it like a business, then I can go out and buy whatever kind of car I want, rather than to concern myself with fixing the starter on my Ford or whatever it is. So that's what I think about that kind of thing. Networking is everything.
Any advice for new students and new filmmakers on the business trends now and the filmmaking future in the city and in the state?
Well, shamelessly, I can put a plug in here for my new company, IMC. We started a distribution company, so what I would recommend is that they become very aware that what they're doing is what happened this evening in this event, is you have to work backwards. The advice I give is work backwards. Define the market, understand what your concept is, where it's going to fall, how the people are going to react to it, and then work backwards to the moment where you say action. That's the reason for that is if you don't define every aspect of what you're going to be doing, you will not be treating it as a business. You'll be treating it again as some cool dude lifestyle, which is really not the way you're going to make money. So if it's a business and you wanted to control all these factors, you do something like what I suggest. Business plans or what have you that the gentleman, Jeff, suggested are just awesome. You know, I mean, he's absolutely right. That's the way you should do it. You want to go to somebody, and first of all, the business says, oh, I need 10 grand, all I need is 10 grand, I can make the best film in the world. Chances are you probably need 50, but you don't know it, and you're probably going to spend most of that to pay your bills that you didn't pay last month. It's not a good thing. You really need to treat it like a business. Is that good advice?
Absolutely. I'm listening, and I'm sure our viewers are too. George, we thank you so much for everything that you've done with this school, with film people for the past 8 years, and of course many years before that when you started the whole program here at CPCC. And it's a huge accomplishment, and we are always grateful for your contributions and your insight into the film industry. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, George Cochran. We're back in a moment. Stay with us. Thanks again to everyone here at the Halton Theater, CPCC, George Cochran, and thank you for watching. Please contact us with your questions, comments, and show ideas. The email address is belowtheline21@gmail.com, and join our fan page on Facebook. We'll see you next time.
For more information, comments, or questions about the show, email us at belowtheline21@gmail.com.